So, I've been gifted this here tote from somebody I've been doing a bit of work for, a bit of gardening, and I was gonna make it into a raised garden bed, and I was gonna make it a Hügelkultur bed, so I figured I'd bring you along for the journey. Now, I'm the only one here to actually videotape this, so I don't really have a plan yet, but I'm gonna take these nails. I'm just gonna nail a few drill holes into the bottom of it, and I'll get back to you in a quick minute. So ideally you would want to be doing this with a drill and drill bits. I don't know where my drill bit is or my drill, but I got a few holes in there, but it's not exactly the easiest thing to get done with a hammer and nails. So I decided I'd grab this tool I got here, which is a little hand auger, hoping it makes a bit quicker work of it, but I want to get some bigger holes in there quicker, but ideally you'd use a drill for this. So I was able to get 5 pretty decent holes in there with that drill, plus a couple nail holes I got, plus I noticed there's a hole over here, and somewhat of a crack over here. So amongst all of that, I'm sure that should be well more than enough to be able to drain it, but I'll keep an eye on how well it drains, and that'll, you know, it's gonna obviously drain a little slower than my other ones. Now to get filling it. So I'm gonna make this into a Hügelkultur bed, so I'll want to start off with some wood or something of thicker material. Now I do have some wooden logs over here, but I'd rather not waste that up on a Hügelkultur bed. I'd rather use that towards a bit of better stuff. So I'm gonna check the bush in the park across the street. There's often stuff people throw out there, so we'll start there and go from there. So after a quick supper break, I've made my way over to a bush in a park not too far from my house, where a lot of people tend to throw away garden waste and yard waste, and not to mention the natural waste that is out here. So I'm gonna gather a bit of this for my garden. And I'll get back to you because I'm sure your imagination can probably put that together. So, I've gotten this nearly half full with, dry wood and rotting wood I found, ranging in sizes from larger pieces, like the thick piece at the bottom there, and it's almost half full. So, I figured I'm going to gather some leaves on the way back in the field to put that on top of this, and then I'm gonna put on a bit of compost, followed by a bit of peat moss, followed by a bit of soil. So I'll keep you in the loop along the way. So I've made my way back after grabbing a good chunk of leaves out of the field, and it's pretty close to full, but it's not like I packed it down all too much. So I know all my heavier ingredients like the compost, the soil, the peat moss, all of that. Gonna weigh it down, so it'll still be a good foot to a foot and a half at least of good soil for it to grow in, but that still saves me a lot of space in this of having to fill it completely with soil. And as it rots away, it just adds extra nutrients to the soil, and that's why I love doing hugelculture when I get the chance. And as I'm sure a lot of you guys can remember, I emptied a lot of my compost into this garden by the shed I was making, earlier in the week. But luckily, while I was helping out with other gardens, I made use of another garden in her area that just so happened to have a couple of planters worth of plants and soil. So I've added that to my compost that I can add to this raised garden bed I'm making. I'm just gonna break it down a bit and fill this bucket here, because I figured now that I'm adding some of the actual weight, I don't want to carry it around and, risk all the extra strain on myself and the Tupperware containers. So I decided I'll just keep it in place and fill it there. I'll keep you up to date. So here I've got a bucket filled with part soil, part compost. There is a bit still rotting away in there, but most of it's already rotten away. Followed by my next bucket will be this bucket of peat moss I've got to help with aeration and keeping on the moisture. Followed by the rest of this bag of soil, which I'll probably need more, but I'm going to start with the compost and soil on the top. And this is probably going to help it sink down a pretty good amount, I imagine. Spread that out a bit. Probably should have grabbed a bit more, but that's a pretty decent layer because I still want to keep a good amount for my peat moss and my compost. I mean my soil, pardon my language. Should remember what I'm doing. And this is basically how I started Hügelkultur bed. Pretty simple, and as it all rots away and with the soil and compost and all the stuff I grabbed from nature, find it makes a pretty big deal. Maybe this bag will actually be enough because it's I'd say between a quarter and a half full, so that might do it off. And the good thing with this plan is with the lid, I can use that for the top for germination to keep the humidity in and hopefully actually keep it warm as well. And during the winter time, I can use the lid to protect it from the elements as well. Or I guess heavy rains if I only have seedlings in here. So just a thought. And I hope you're all having a great night and take care. And pretty close to full. I added the soil. Could use a little bit more to top it off and seeing how it will sink. What I am going to do is I'll mix this layer a bit with the peat moss to kind of help it all stay aerated hopefully and be a little more loamy throughout the year. And then I'll add another layer of topsoil. I'll have to start a new bag and then I'll probably let it settle for a couple of days to a week or two before I actually plant in this. See where we're at by then. Take care, guys. And there we go. All done up and filled up. And I haven't mulched it yet, but I'll probably wait till after I plant for that. But let the seedlings come up and I'll worry about mulching it like the other ones a little later on. But I'll keep you guys along for future journeys so you guys, if you've never tried Hügelkultur, you can have a better idea of how it works out. Take care. Hope you're having a good day or night.